Just starting now. Yeah, I'm allowed to say hello now, am I?
Yeah, let's get going,
Yeah.
How's things for you, Don? Where are you up to on this trip?
I'm in where am I what?
Where are you up to?
I don't know where I'm up to. I'm nowhere, I think. I'm just starting, I think. Um, I don't know. I think I'm just starting. It's hard to know. I've been at it for a long time, but it's confusing.
Yeah,
I was telling you.
go on.
I'll just tell you. Well, I was actually talking to. I was just been at Angelo DeLudo's retreat about 2 weeks ago, and I've started to talk to one of the coaches, the non-duality people who are coaches who went there. I've been doing, I guess, non-duality stuff for about 4 years and Buddhism 30 flipping years. But and I was talking to her on Tuesday and about an experience I had 23 years ago, and when I had just seemed to see through sights and sounds, thoughts and emotions, everything really clearly. And she's like, "That sounds like Kensho. That sounds like an awakening," she said. And I was like, "Yeah, it felt like a proper,
Yep.
change in my identity. It lasted for 3 months, so I could see that I wasn't my thoughts and emotions. No one told me that before. I just saw that. And I was whoever I was, the one who was seeing the thoughts and emotions used to be my identity. Now they're not anymore. And it was really clear to me. And then it went away. And I've just been fucking confused for the last 23 years and even more identified with my thoughts than anyone ever was in the whole of history.
Yeah, and I just want it back.
Yeah. And that's what I'm doing here. And I'm like, it's 4 years of looking into non-duality and they're pounding this message at me. I'm going, I don't understand. And only in the last year or so, I feel I've seen a little bit of a few glimpses of what is or whatever. But the intensity of the thoughts and emotions here, I guess the doubt or trauma stuff or something is heavy. And almost like the belief that I'm not allowed not believe my thoughts is a strong belief. I think it might be some echoing. I might put up some, sorry. I sometimes some I feel like there's this belief. It's almost like my thoughts are like my dad. You always have to believe or else you have to believe them or something.
Yeah, I did. A lot of that you broke up. Now it could be your internet or could be mine. I'm having internet problems at the moment.
Oh,
too.
sorry. I saw you went a bit like.
But yeah,
I was saying that
yeah, that's a bit of a trick, that one. People that have those experiences, it's like, wow, they everything's measured against that, and that
yeah. I kind of half forgot about it, and not forgot. It's the only reason I'm here. On the other hand, I'm mostly kind of going. I'm not going back to that. It's not a big deal. I don't really tell people mostly about it. I just decided to mention it this time, and yet I'm still. And she's going, "Oh, let's go. You should go on to Fetters 4 and 5 because you're already, I'm like, I don't even think so. I'm so identified over here. It's ridiculous. It's even like I had a therapist 4 years ago who kind of even suggested non-duality to me, and he said a lot of positive things. But one of the things he said to me in frustration one time, he said, I have never met anyone who believes their thoughts as much as you if they weren't psychotic. So,
well, he hasn't met many people, I think.
Yeah.
People
I don't know.
get locked in, I'll tell you, on that one. Yeah, that's a bit of a trick. Yep. Yeah.
I did a 10-day Vipassana retreat, and I just didn't break through. I was just distracted the whole way through last year sometime.
Yep.
Every now and then a flicker of recognition arises for me, and then it sort of goes away for weeks or months or even years. I remember like the first quarter of last year, I was binge watching Paul Hederman 4 or 5 hours a day for 3 months. And every now and then, like something would come through, and I would feel like, okay, I'm present now. I'm present with loads of anxiety and depression, but at least I'm present for a week or two, and then it kind of goes away again. And the amount of doubt and heaviness there is, the anxiety and depression is, and I'm kind of telling myself, well, if I, if I saw through that I'm a person, if I didn't believe I was a person, then I wouldn't be depressed, would I? Must be somebody here being depressed. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, the perspective from which you look at what's going on is part of the problem. I say problem is the issue, part of, yeah. See, when you have those experiences, even if they're short-lived, when you have those experiences, they're showing you something. And then when it appears that they've gone away, it's not what's happened. They haven't gone away. What's happened is something else has turned up. Right. And you can use the concept, if you like, that whatever turned up is covering it up. It's still there. It's always been there. It's never not been there. But then I sound like the non-duality people when I say things like that too. Yeah. Yeah. What needs to happen is less focus on what's not there and more focus on what is there. And when I say what is there, I'm not talking about your interpretation of what is there, although you're going to have to approach it through your interpretation, but your interpretation is set by your thoughts, and that's where you don't want to get sucked in. So what you need to do is be looking at what is actual. What is actual? And that's what the Vipassana thing is very much about, you know, scanning the body for sensations. But it's very easy to just kind of drift off in thought land, isn't it, when that's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, you're here. This is probably the biggest thing. This is probably the best thing you could have done. Simply because it's obvious that it's really difficult to talk to people who don't have this in their mind, do they? You know, I don't know how to put it. Common folk. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So being here, you can at least talk openly, and one of the things that I feel a big deal about these kind of meetups is that you can talk to everybody like they're awake, even if they're not, because they're interested in it. And when you're talking to people like they're awake, you just drop a lot of the social bullshit. You don't have to ask permission to say something. You don't apologize for feeling like you've done something wrong. None of that happens. It's just not there, you know? So, and you're also, the other thing that I get from you is you're working too hard at it. You're making it hard work when it should be play. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I'm a bit frustrated now at this point. You know, it feels like I've been depressed most of my life. If I'm to speak plainly, like you said, I've been depressed for fucking years and I'm sick to death of it. That's why I'm making an effort. You know, I just don't enjoy my life at all. And I really want to, you know,
and somehow an intention to do something about it has arisen.
Yeah.
And here you are.
Well, it's been there a long time, but it's got it more and more focused. I blame Angelo because he's so optimistic about this being possible. I never really thought it was possible to do something about this until I heard him. I was like, no, I'm going to do it. And I'm just really been obsessed during this year or so for like hours. What I've been doing, as I've described to many people, is sitting in a meditation posture, being distracted for long periods. per day.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I prefer to sit there and do something useful instead.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I reckon 90% of people who meditate do exactly that. But who knows? I don't know. Yeah. But one thing that popped into my mind as you were talking about Angelo's optimism is that it's skillful technique to not chase an end result. Forget about an end result. Okay, you talk about losing that depression.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can keep that in the back of your mind. You can look at it sideways a little bit, but every time it comes squarely in front of you, piss it off. Okay, that's going to distract you. And what happens when you start chasing end results is you strengthen every impediment that comes along.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to sneak up on it rather than a frontal attack. Yeah.
You can say something about suffering that you said that you were years in this. I think there is two very interesting points. It's the first one. It's suffering and pain and depression and fear. They are, for me now, I see that they are really tools. You know, like they are. If you do something and you feel pain in your body, you will stop doing it. So if you do things with your mind and you start suffering, well, you will stop doing it, right? So suffering is like, it's like life telling you, if you do this, you suffer. So try to stop. But of course, because I am, and I guess many of us have so much habit, you know, of doing things that we are lost about what is suffering and what is not, you know, how to behave, how to end with this. And I think that is really good, because I see that I have a son, for example, and when I am goal oriented, when I want to do this, and because I have a kid, it's impossible to do really what you want. I start to feel angry, and I start to feel my life is not good, right? So when I see this, I can see that it's my emotion, that I want something, I want to reach something, and my son, it's impeding me to reach that goal. So it become a threat, right, or enemy. So now I'm kind of succeeding being more calm with this. This is being goal oriented. And one thing that's really helped me, it's I hear this once and it really struck me, because all my life a lot in my spirituality was reaching somewhere, and when I hear this, something changed, because it's not about reaching somewhere, it's more about seeing what it is. So even with depression, you know, like what it is really for me in the moment, you know, I'm depressed, but what it is, you know, what is actual, like sensation, thought, and stuff like this. Yeah.
Yeah, so part of the thing that you could be doing, Don, is to deconstruct things. And so when you say, I am suffering from depression, and some people might even say, I am suffering from a depression, you can, there is an implication that it has some substance, that depression exists as a thing and that we suffer from it, right? And when we adopt the Vipassana idea of looking at what sensations are in the body, we can start to get an idea about what we mean or what we point to when we say depression. And so feelings are a sensation plus stories. Emotions are sensations plus stories. Depression is sensations plus stories. But they're circular. You know, the stories we respond to make us feel shit. So we have more stories about that, and then we feel even worse. Around and round and round it goes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as we're talking like this, you can kind of get the idea that, well, we've got to stop doing that. We've got to stop having the stories. You can't. Who can control what thoughts turn up? So they're going to be there. They're going to be there. They're habitual and they're conditioned, but they're going to be there because that's the way it is, right? Don't get sucked into saying, I shouldn't have that story. I better stop doing it or whatever. It's all a part of the illusion of control to think that you can actually do something about it. You can't do anything about it. But this conversation, these words, they can lead you to the possibility of a technique happening that is celebrate the moment you realize what's going on. The moment you realize you've been believing the term depression applies to you, celebrate that moment. That's the moment when we start to train our brain to use the other side, to become right brain instead of left brain. Because all those stories, they come out of the left brain about how things should be and how things could be and why they're not like that. And all of those stories are all left brain stuff. So if you reach, if something happens where you go, oh yeah, that was happening, that was going on, I was believing my thoughts, that's the moment. What you celebrate that moment with a laugh. Have a laugh. An out loud laugh if you're by yourself, or just a smile if you're in company or whatever. Just, you can smile with your eyes. It changes how you feel inside. It does, right? But that celebration is the beginning of a new trigger, and it will start to happen sooner and sooner. It'll be, so in the beginning, it might be the next day you realize that you were lost in thought yesterday, that you were suffering because you were sucked into some story that was going on. That's okay. Doesn't matter if it's a day later. The time will come when you'll go, I was about to go into a story and I saw it and I stopped it. Right? You didn't actually stop it, but seeing it stopped it. That will happen. That takes time. You'll get there just by celebrating it. And that is a huge thing. If you put all of your attention in doing that for the next couple of weeks, your life will change.
Okay.
Just doing that.
Okay.
But
yeah.
it's a beginning thing, but there you go. It's a big one too, huge one. So when we talk about you believing your thoughts, everybody believes their thoughts, but some people get smarter about which thoughts it's better not to believe. Another, so if what I read on Google somewhere was 70,000 thoughts a day, and 83% of them are repeats of thoughts we had yesterday and the day before and the day before. So, yeah. But amongst those, there will be some useful thoughts, but you don't need to worry about that. They'll make themselves known. It's the useless thoughts posing as useful thoughts that you've got to worry about. You've got to watch out for. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. I do. So I don't want to keep talking the whole time. That maybe someone else.
You're right. No worries. Yeah. Everybody will jump in if they want to.
Okay. Thank you. Somebody recently was saying to me, advising me, they were saying, if you're asking a question, she said, don't start with your big problem, because you just bring everyone down the track of your big problems, and start with telling them how much realization or clarity you have, and that might bring the conversation in a different direction or something, and that was nice, some encouragement my friend was giving me. And but I do sometimes, it depends on the week. Like this week hasn't been wonderful, but sometimes I kind of can seemingly stay present for quite a long time and just stay without very many thoughts and just watch And the thing I've been trying to do over the past couple of months really has kind of been to stay present and just watch thoughts and keep coming back. And but every now and then I get tricked, I guess, because the thought says you have to go in and analyze and see the substance of your thoughts, and you have to see that they're made out of consciousness, and otherwise you'll never really get to the bottom of it. And once I start going in, I'm in the content of the thoughts, and I'm getting persuaded by them again, and like, no, and so I kind of think I have to go back and just watch, just sit there, and there's few of the say meditations that Angela does about consciousness, and I can kind of just sit present and watch. But then I suppose maybe I get bored after a while going, am I doing anything useful? What am I doing? It feels that seems, some of the time I'm convinced that's the right thing. I'm just going to sit here and watch what's happening. That's all I'm going to do. And then after a while I go, no, I should do something else. And then I get confused again. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard a lot of you saying that you're putting effort in and you're doing these things. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I know. That's the way it is. That's the way it works. You know, I don't do anything. If I do get the idea that I've done something, I recognize that it's just a painting that I'm doing, or a sketch or something. It's a story that I'm creating, that because I remember earlier today watering the garden, I could say, well, I did that. But the reality is I didn't do it at all. Watering the garden happened, and there was a lot involved. My wife telling me to do it was a big part of that. Yeah. And I do what I'm told, or I do what's in front of me. If I'm told something that's usually in front of me, I'll do it, almost always. I'm not talking about me. What I'm talking about is this efforting, this idea that you're doing things, and implied in that is that you're doing them for a reason. Okay, now that really is superstition. If I do this, then that'll happen. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah. Because I don't know what's happening. It's a mystery. Well, maybe that's why I'm so confused, because I can't see what's happening as a result of what I'm seemingly doing. I don't know what I'm doing or what's happening.
So why do you need to see what's happening?
Oh. I guess I want it to turn out better than it seems to have to date, something like that. Or I want to know that. I mean, it's funny how I do sometimes see that there's no doer. Like often when I observe myself talking or seeing, I go, there's no one doing this. It's just talking happening, and someone commenting on it afterwards saying, that's terrible, you shouldn't have said that. But this is talking happening or seeing happening. I often notice that. Or even I was lying on the sofa the other day and I thought, I'll get up now in a second. And I thought, I wonder if the doer will think he was responsible for getting up from the sofa. And I realized that getting up happened, and I was like, oh yeah, you see, I didn't even notice that, but here I am sitting up now, and the doer is going, no, you didn't decide that, it just happened. And I can kind of see that, and yet I'm going, I still kind of believe there's a doer in a funny way, even though I repeatedly see there isn't one.
That's that logic again. It's your thoughts are so seductive. They are masterful at seduction. They'll present you with just what you succumb to every time. They'll suck you right in so easily. Yeah, they're good at it. But yeah, because they know your weakness, don't they? They know exactly what excites you and what will take you away from that. Yeah. Look, mate, this stuff is really close to the surface for you. It's almost like, why are you torturing yourself with not being there? It's so close in every which way. I can see it.
Yeah.
You have many experiences of it every day, and you're not taking any notice of them. You're just noticing the other stuff.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That was what my friend was saying to me, that constantly reminding me that I can see more clearly than I think, and I focus on the problem because I'm always a problem solver kind of person. But yeah,
That's a good one. Yeah, we've all got a bit of fixer in us, haven't we? Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
One one thought that took me a lot to stock was the belief that my perception has to change in order to see what's happening, you know, because often I read so many stories about this, about that, about exotic experience that no, I cannot still be me, this body, this normal life, and seeing what's happening. And the was a very big shift was no, but reality can be anything. So why cannot it be exactly as my perception appear to be? Why not? And this was really like a big relief, because suddenly, even if there is a doer, the doer doesn't have to change anything, doesn't have to kind of manage my experience in any way to make what is actual, because there it is. But it's just this very stubborn belief that it can be that boring. It can be just like this. It can be, it has to be something else. It has to be something
Yeah.
else. And this is very stubborn. It's very strong. And even if I, sometimes it's very clear, some morning I just woke up and my kids, my family, my whole human life, and I'm like, this is not, it can't be this, you know. But after I just relax and I say, well, what is happening? Everything is here and everything relax. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, we do a lot of judgment. We do a lot of opinion about wanting, not wanting, or good, bad, or pleasant, unpleasant. We divide things up big time, don't we? All the time we're saying, you know, and I love it when people I don't love it. I'm being sarcastic in a way, but when people say, "Oh, I was in the flow and then I wasn't in the flow," how can you not be in the flow? What you're really saying was it was pleasant and then it wasn't so pleasant, but you're still in the flow. You can't not be. You can't not be present.
Now that's something really changed for me since last week. I just noticed something that it haven't happened. You know? Like for years, when I feel something bad in me, like something I don't want to feel, immediately I felt, oh, I did something wrong again. I need to practice more, or I'm less like, oh, I'm not awakened in the sense that I'm not understanding. Maybe this is a lie. You know, like doubt was just rising like huge, you know. But this week was, oh, there's a bad sensation, and a part of me want to get rid of it, and that's it. There's nothing to add. No, I will do my best to feel it. I will do my avoidance mechanism, like watching TV, and after we stop and it doesn't work, and this and that. But it's just what's happening. It's okay. And it's for the last week. I was very happy. I was like, finally, I feel that something has kind of changed. You know, like it's like now I'm more relaxed with what's
Yeah.
happening, and I don't see when there is, because now I have some very near of the plexus. I have like a lot of tension and a lot of things happening there, unpleasant, and but it's fine, you know. Yeah, it's just his body mind. It's kind of dealing with its energy the way it can, and it's fine. And things just get so much smoother because I'm not like adding guilt or adding problem to the situation, to the situation. That was very nice.
That's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we talk about ending suffering, it sounds like we're talking about suffering, what causes suffering going away. But we're really talking about our response to that, what used to cause suffering. We're really talking about a different take on it. And if you can see that what used to cause you suffering now can be an opportunity for you to discover something about yourself, then it becomes a science project, and the suffering is a lot less.
I think for me, a big key was responsibility. It's like you say, our capacity to respond. The response ability we got to a situation. And now, when I feel something, the first thing that mind is doing is because my partner, my wife, state, and it's just put it out there somewhere. And now I see that I kind of immediately is that no, it's in my experience. I am responsible of it. I have to respond of my emotion, of my sensation. And this really changed because, like you said, after it become like science. Why I'm feeling this?
Mm.
Where those thoughts coming from?
Yeah.
And why this? But because I don't know your name, but Don O'Connor say, but what I'm saying is not investigating into thoughts. It's not what the content, and no, it's investigating experience, where those thoughts come from, what they are made of, and what is made this uncomfortable sensation and where it is. And it's true, it become completely different. It's like a discovery. It's very nice.
Big one, yeah. And if you can accept, if you can investigate and discover for yourself, but why or how anything happens is a bottomless rabbit hole that your thoughts want you to go down. They'll invite you down. They're like sirens of the sea. They'll invite you to check it out, right? They'll promise you satisfaction, but you'll rarely get it. But anyway, dismiss the how and the why thoughts and always change them into what thoughts. What is happening? What am I feeling? What are the stories that are active? What? In that way, that's then it becomes easy for you to just dismiss 2/3 of your thoughts, which are all about the whys and the hows, and they never ever get any answers because we can't really understand the why or the how. It's beyond us as humans. We haven't got the capacity to understand. We can only make up stories about it, and they're all a waste of time. Usually, there are exceptions, I guess. Just cover my ass here. You're being very quiet, Julia.
Yeah. Hi. I like to listen because I don't really know what to say. And yeah, I'm just thankful to listen.
Okay. That's fine. Did you guys get together for a meetup last week in Thailand? No?
Not yet. No, we couldn't
Michael
manage
and
to
David,
find a date with Michael, but we are trying next week. I have to answer him, but yeah, I will try next week. Yeah.
Have you been traveling for the last week, Michael?
Hi, traveling? No, just just staying home and not doing much. I've I've just had low energy. I'm still recovering from the accident, and I haven't been going out much, so I just stayed home most of the time.
How do
I've
you
been.
feel about your accident?
What's that?
How do you feel about the injury from your accident?
I don't have any feelings about it. It just what it is. But it was like it was pretty intense, the event itself. I thought that might be it, and then I was kind of thinking that because I had some broken bones in my head. I had a strong head trauma, so it was kind of pretty scary the first few hours, especially until I got the Röntgen results, the scans, and then the doctors told me that I'll be okay, just some broken bones, but everything will heal eventually. It's okay.
Right.
But it was quite scary. So it's
Yeah.
like I had to, it's like I had to literally deal with the potential impending death, physical death. And I thought that would be a very silly way to go, because I fell in the bathroom and I didn't even sleep. I just kind of lost consciousness because I was in a hot bath for too long. And then I fell and I knocked my head on, I think, on a corner. I think I knocked my head on a sharp corner or something like that. So I thought that would be a silly way to end this. But there were certainly some moments that were challenging. But now I don't have any kind of thoughts about. Now it's just the practicality of things, just looking, okay, well, what is the best way to handle this thing or that pain or that stuff, and that's it.
So would you call that a near-death experience?
Hey, what?
Would you call it a near-death experience?
Well, I think the near-death experience is usually defined by you actually dying and then seeing something and then sort of coming back. So I in that sense, no, I did not.
Yeah.
I did not die, but I thought I might.
You thought you
But
might.
it was just an experience of dealing with these fears of death, because it's interesting, because I've been doing a lot of this meditation before. The kind of Buddhist meditation where you just think about what it would be like to die, like what it would be like if you knew that you're going to die tomorrow or next week or next month. And I used to do it from time to time. And yeah, but it's never really like that. Like it's never real until it's real, because when all that instinct comes out, then you can really see it. Yeah.
If you do one of those meditations this week, Michael, does it feel different now? You can bring back the fear or bring back the experience during the meditation. It feels different, does it?
Sure. Yeah. If I think back to the experience, yeah, I don't have any emotions coming up with that now.
So how did you, what I get from you so far is that when you thought you might die, the big story there for you was, what a silly way to go. Was that accurate?
No, the big story was, there was just a completely overwhelming amount of everything. Like I was so weak, I could not walk. I had the nurse come help me to walk to the bathroom. I had constant pain everywhere, like all these different things connected to me. So I was in the hospital for a few days. So it's kind of, the whole thing was just like, there was just this overwhelm and the thoughts of, I might die, or I might end up with some serious disability because I had some sort of head trauma and I didn't know yet exactly what would be the result of all that. And
so what were your feelings when you were thinking you might have some disability? If you don't die, you might be disabled forever.
I tried not to, like, I knew that, you know, thinking about it is not helpful. So I spent actually most of the time just doing some vortex healing, energy healing, and meditating. And well, I did the first day I took all the painkillers that they had. But they didn't, they only had like some kind of light stuff, not the strong stuff. But then the second day I sort of like felt like, okay, I can manage. So I thought I didn't want to have some sort of negative effect from that later.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe a week after that, when I got home, I started to feel quite a bit of pain. So I started taking some of the pain medications they gave me as well. And then sort of I got used to it. So it's like on and off. But I mean, I don't know, it's hard to say, because at some point there was certainly like a fear and some sort of resistance and a story. But it wasn't there for like a period. It was just brief usually.
Mm.
But the physical pain certainly is, it can certainly be challenging. Like yesterday or the day before, I bumped my toenail. I had this light shoes, like kind of like sandals, and I sort of walked, and I didn't kind of miscounted my steps, and I walked into a concrete block with my with my big toenail. It was really painful. And I was kind of curious to see what would, if I would have like emotions or something, what would happen. And there was a well, while the pain was there was a kind of like, there was some sort of anger, some sort of thing coming up while the pain was there. But then the pain was, because it hurt for a bit after that. And so while I was experiencing pain, I was experiencing some sort of, like, I was like anger, and there was like some thought, oh, why didn't I pay more attention? Why didn't I wear big
Classic suffering, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of
That's how you
suffering,
do
a little
it.
bit. Yeah, I noticed. And I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just, sit and relax into it. But it was like a very physical feeling, and that physical sensation caused that stuff. But as soon as the sensation, like the pain, sort of subsided a bit, it was all gone. But I think the pain has the potential to cause suffering still to some extent. So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting though. And yeah, I had an experience today too. I dropped on, I was working downstairs barefooted, and I dropped a fairly decent lump of wood on my toes. And of course there's not much flesh on the toes, and it hurt like hell. But I do remember going, ouch. And I don't remember anything about that after that until you were just talking then. That's what came back to me, that there was no stories about, you're stupid, you shouldn't have done it kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of depends on the state. Like, I remember I had another time because this time when it happened yesterday or the day before, I was kind of like a little bit overwhelmed, because I was like going around town and I was doing all kinds of things, and I was not like as relaxed as I usually am. But the other time I had this similar experience. I was like practicing some kicks in my home gym, and I didn't hit it right, and I broke a toenail. It was really painful, and there was a pain for about half a minute or a minute. There was like really intense pain. And there was some negative thoughts, but then suddenly the pain just stopped and all the thoughts went away. And I was like, okay, that's it. And then I was just like, okay, let's see what's happening. Like, is there blood? Do I need to do something about it? Do I need to like go to a hospital? Like, no, it's fine. Okay, no problem.
Right.
Yeah, after the last meeting, and near the end, I had that little inquiry into suffering. And so the inquiry continued for a few hours after the meeting, and the next day as well. It was really interesting because I suddenly saw that there was no suffering, and there never was. And before that, I somehow felt that there was suffering. I somehow believed that there was suffering. That sort of that remnant of that had remained. And the day after that, I felt like fully enlightened. Like I had this amazing feeling of just being done, being completed, being liberated. The second time in my life that I really had that feeling of, okay, that's it. I'm done. That only lasted for about a day.
Yeah, that was
But it was
because
really
you had the
interesting.
realization that there was no actual thing called suffering.
Yeah. And I realized that suffering was kind of a big deal for me. That's why maybe it had such an effect, because,
Yeah.
well, it's probably a big deal for everybody, but for me specifically, I sort of always accepted that, yeah, that's just how it is. There is a lot of suffering and everything. So since when I've been, but I also saw that realization doesn't stay. There was this nice day, but then the next day I had a few things come up. I had some issues, some problems, some things, some emails, some stuff to do, and that sort of went away.
Yeah.
But I kept looking to see if there is suffering whenever that, that sensation arose, and the thoughts and things start to tell me, oh, this looks like suffering. So that's what I've been doing ever since, basically just checking from time to time. Is that really suffering? Is there really suffering? And see that there is not. So that's been helpful.
Good.
Yeah, when Michael, I have similar, I've had similar sort of experiences when there's been a big shift and a big insight. There's this sort of falling away and a sense of just this such openness that carries on maybe for a little while, and then I just sort of feel that allows for more. That's going to pass, and then there'll be the next layer, allows room for the next deeper layer, more subtle layer to reveal itself over time. But I know that wonderful feeling after a major, okay, there isn't any suffering, or there isn't any this or that, and it's really wonderful.
Yeah, it's like an onion. There is endless layers, and when we kind of get into them, there is the crying.
And then, but then each, as one goes more subtle, one becomes, I think the interest or the allowing of whatever is going to arise becomes more strong. There's and more, there's more curiosity, and there's more welcoming.
Yeah, maybe it's just like tiredness of fighting, of resisting.
And no, it doesn't feel like tiredness. It feels like curiosity of and some talk, or I'm not even sure if it was one, a Zoom talk or of some kind. And I think somebody was talking, and there was a little, I was in touch with just sensations of identification, of a certain type of identification, because there were sensations going on throughout this period, where I could feel that there was some sort of attachment still, of maybe disagreement or whatever. But I just was so curious not to the content of what the person was saying particularly, or what my voice of disagreement would maybe have said. I just put that aside and I thought, wow, this is so interesting. Just, there was no stories, it was just the sort of enjoyment and the recognition that, okay, there's still something here doing identification, and I can feel it, because I can feel, the movement internally, rather than it was if it would have been the sensation would and the thought previously, that I would have been more captivated into thought and story. But here and now it's like, oh, I'm more captivated by welcoming the sensations, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that the inner. I've heard that that's kind of what they say, is that you sort of go deeper into the inner sensation, and then sort of focus more on them than the outer things. Yeah, and then at some point these things kind of align, or the separation sort of disappears. I'm not sure. I don't think that happened for me yet.
You want to be careful
Yes, like
what they say.
it's like I acknowledge that I have sometimes a very argumentative, disagreeable little part that has been present, and it doesn't necessarily voice, but it's there. It's like a little gremlin that sort of says, oh, I don't think that's well expressed, or I don't think that, and it goes on. But then so that it was sort of like, okay, there's still vestiges of that. And because I can just feel it, but it's just, it doesn't mean anything. And it's just, I realize that, and I realize when I do it, it's more in the cellular structure, preventing me from being more fully present to just open listening without content. There's still a sort of like, there's the part that's still grabbing. It's become much less, but it's actually still there. And because I can feel it, rather than bothering to listen to what it thinks about things. Because in the past, it sort of caused me quite a lot of in pain of like why am I such a disagreeable person? Why can't I just be more fully on board that person's enthusiasm or whatever, or what they're thinking? Why do I always have to sort of be, interiorly saying, oh, I don't feel like that, and what are you talking about? I think you're talking nonsense, type of thing.
Self-criticism,
yeah.
yeah. So one of the things that Rowena's saying, Don, and this is a worth getting your mind around, and that is that there's no end to this stuff, at least not anything I've ever seen. And so what happens is that stuff comes up, and we how do I put it? We work through it. We see it for the delusion that it was. And guess what? That opens up a space for the next thing to come up. So nothing is permanent. We're always going to be on the move. And we're always going to be up and down, up and down, up and down, but maybe to more or less extent. But no matter how much stuff you work through and sort out, there'll be more stuff underneath to come up. It gets to the point where it's amusing. It's not a big deal. We discovered that we don't work at this stuff. We just be curious and play with it, kind of thing. But there is no those moments that you had were always going to be temporary. They'll come and go again, but they're never going to stay around permanently. Not possible.
Yeah, I kind of know that. I don't know. I was listening and I was thinking, I guess I feel I have a kind of a negative sort of, I don't know. What am I saying? I hear people trusting the process, or trusting something, or trusting, it's like you were saying about me making a lot of effort. I feel like if whoever I am, don't make a lot of effort, it's just going to stay terrible. It's going to get worse. I have to try to find a way out and see some kind of progress or something. Or maybe I'm just judging my current experience as being not good enough. I'm going, there's too much negativity, there's too much negative reactivity. Maybe the main thing for me, I suppose I'd say, is, what is the main thing? There's a feeling of wrongness. That's what I heard somebody talking about that recently. There's a feeling of wrongness. I feel wrong. Everything, I'm saying it now, I can feel it. everything I say and do is wrong all day, every day. And every reaction I expect from humanity is that I'm a total waste of space. And I feel that all day, every day, every second of the day, constantly. And I'm going, it's fucking intolerable. I just can't bear it. You know, I want to get out of feeling that all the time. And that's, I'm sort of still, I'm kind of going, I need to, it needs to feel a bit easier than this before I start to trust and smile and go, yeah, I'm making progress with my stuff. You know, it just feels too hard to feel that all the time, and it seems to impact every aspect of my life, whether my work or relationships or everything else. I'm just jaded from how hard it is to get through the day, and yeah, I don't know. So that's me, honestly, Marissa. Yeah, so I kind of know it's going to take, but I've been at it for quite a long time, and I feel it. Yeah, the kind of trust that people have that it's opening up, or it's I don't know, yeah. So maybe there's a way I can change my attitude to.
No.
John, you
Yeah.
say you were saying I feel wrong. So would you stop a moment, just sort of take a little moment just to connect with yourself and tell us how in body language, body sensation, it feels internally to feel, if you can feel wrong? Or is that just a label that you somehow have, through a habit, through some sort of type of trauma or whatever, or past belief, that you're just sprouting out? Because what a feeling is just a feeling, and it can't be right or wrong. And so, this is a way that I found incredibly helpful, because I had a really nasty negative voice, and I just sort of embraced it, and it's like, okay, I'm a bad person, I'm bad or whatever. It's just like, okay, find the badness, and in the quietness, see what's there, and does it need to have a label?
Thank you. Yeah, actually, only a few weeks ago, it just occurred to me when I was examining whether I believe my thoughts, and then I was going, do I have to believe my feelings? And so now when you were asking me, I can feel like shame or embarrassment or just something like that. And that just what you're saying, I go, maybe I can just feel that and not maybe even
you don't need to believe,
not believe it. Yeah.
you don't need to believe a feeling, because a feeling is, any label is just a label, and that you don't need to believe, because anything about belief, a belief is just a thought about another thought. So I'm wrong.
So let me jump in here. Go back to what Rowena said right at the beginning, Don. Can you just feel that wrongness right now? Can you feel wrongness?
Yeah, I can feel whatever that.
So where do you feel? Where do you feel something? Whereabouts in your body?
Mostly in my head, like most things. Sense of that I say, kind of shame and embarrassment, and
Okay, stop.
just want to switch off my camera kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't feel shame. You don't feel embarrassment. You can't feel those things because they're just ideas. There are sensations. You've got a story hanging off about shame and embarrassment. But what is the sensation that those stories are hanging off? So go for shame. If you can't find wrongness, go for shame or embarrassment. Where's the sensation?
Oh, I find it hard to find.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It will be there.
Yeah.
But before you started looking, that was a pretty big feeling, wasn't it? Now, all of a sudden, what is it you're actually feeling?
It's hard to. I think I see these things as problems that need to be solved and investigated and fixed, and
Okay,
and
look. So again,
that's not
problems solved, investigated. They're all whole stories. They're complete
I know,
stories
yeah.
about them. And consequently, what it does is it keeps you away from what is actually going on.
Yeah.
Like you're watching a Miss Marple thing on TV or a Agatha Christie thing, you know, and you're trying to work out who done it. But all that's a diversion away from what is actually going on.
Yeah.
So what Rowena was pointing to is if you can feel that thing that you say you're feeling and identify it, it breaks up. It can't stay solid as soon as you start looking at it. And I'm
Okay.
really interested what you're doing with your bottom jaw.
It's funny. Yeah. That's only in the last, people notice it. Only in the last few weeks. It's kind of funny. I was trying to do a thing weird, making a massive effort as usual. I was trying to move my energy down from my head into my body for the last few weeks, kind of because there's so much, thinking, and that's just it's kind of a consequence of that in a funny way. It's a start. It's like a valve kind of going, just and I tried a few times to and that's started happening in the last few weeks of my jaw. It's like, and it seems to happen automatically now. And I'm trying to move down into my body, whatever that even means. But I'm really learning I'm really hearing what you're both saying. I'm not taking the piss. I'm really hearing what you're saying. And this like feeling, and I've really seen this, whatever wrongness, as a problem to be solved, and just to see it, experience it, and even looking for the sensation in my body, it's always been a problem. I struggle to find those things, but maybe not finding them is okay as well. I just
Absolutely.
noticing.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole point is
Yeah.
to look for what the sensation is. You will get to the skill level where you can find it, but even just the act of looking will take you out of your head, will take you out of those stories.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Because, well, yeah, and while you're there reassuring me, it will. But of course, when I'm trying to do it and I'm not finding the sensation, then it turns back to, oh, you're doing it wrong.
You're getting other stories, yes.
So but
Yeah.
I can,
And as soon as
Yeah,
you see it as a story, you just have a chuckle and laugh at it and go, okay, yeah. Sorry.
yeah, and the other thing is because I completely relate to the getting into the body. I mean, it requires, when one hasn't been connected, it requires quite a bit of I suppose perseverance to keep revisiting, because what happens is the reason that why we've lived in our head is because the feelings from very young age were too much to cope with. And so there was a complete diversion out of the body into the head, and then trying to resolve it through thought, or how I must never do this again because I never want to feel like this again. And so this, it's like all the cells in our body have contracted against the feeling. And so in the beginning, what you're saying is like, I can't really feel anything. And then you go back into other thinking. That's the natural diversion, because the part that has been blocked, there's a sort of still a protector part over it that says, no, we're not going there. We're going to go back there because that's what we know we can cope with. And then you just like, oh, okay, I've gone back into thought again. And it's just like, oh, how curious. Okay, the protector's working. I'm just going to go back to feeling how it feels to feel wrong. And maybe you can only do it like seconds at a time. But and this is, I definitely got from Vince, it's just laugh and realize, oh yeah, okay, it's happened again. And even if you don't feel like laughing or just, but, gently commending yourself for seeing, because that's so valuable. But it's a natural thing to bounce back into thought and story.
Thanks. Yeah, no, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'll keep working on that. It seems, yeah.
Don't work on it.
Don't work on it. Okay, I'll keep not working on it. Yeah.
Can
Play
I
with
say
it.
something?
Yes, please.
Okay. When you or when I have these bad thoughts, shameful and so on, I also try to feel into the body, and sometimes it seems like the thoughts are, I don't know how to say, become more. And I'm a little bit nervous. And then the story is going on like I'm hiding from my thoughts, and I'm judging the thoughts to be bad, and I don't want to think them. And then for me, sometimes it helps to concentrate on the thoughts, not on the feelings, but to let them be there, these horrible stories that are going on. I don't know if it's helpful, if it's right, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a big thing. That's a big thing. We are moving towards accepting whatever turns up.
Mm.
Bad feelings, bad thoughts, good feelings, good thoughts, whatever. Whatever turns up is what turns up.
Mm.
In the beginning, it's like Don says, it's hard to have trust that it's okay if they're not pleasant, what turns up.
Mhm.
But you will learn from experience that even not pleasant stuff is fine.
Mm.
It's a schoolroom. It's a place to learn, but it's fine. So whatever turns up, if you're having bad thoughts, you don't say, stop, go away, I don't want you. Even though I implied that when I said, if you get into sensations, it will take you out of your head.
Mm.
What it will do is take you out of being locked into your head. But just remember that whatever turns up, whatever those thoughts are, they're okay. They're telling us something. They could be as crazy as anything, but they're telling us something. So everything is okay. Whatever turns up is whatever turns up is whatever turns up, and it's fine. And to say, well, I've got the wrong attitude towards those things, that's fine too. It's not how you want to end up, but recognizing what is the easiest path, the quickest path out of that. But remember that that's not our focus to get out of it. We just want to recognize what is happening. But see, it's human nature to have opinions about whatever's going on. And we're conditioned big time to that one. Just watch the news and you'll see opinions, not news. Just watch whatever people say and you hear everybody expressing opinions all the time. It's one of the big things with social media. It's a place to express opinions. Every opinion is a judgment. And judgments are about good and bad. And good and bad are stories we make up. So if you have an opinion, recognize that it's a judgment and laugh. Don't try not to have it. Just recognize that that's what's there and laugh. There is no right or wrong. You can't do it wrong. It's not possible to do it wrong. What kind of is possible is not to get maximum value out of whatever turns up. But then if you don't, you don't. And that's not wrong either. That's just the way it is. You can't change these things. You can't control it. You don't really make decisions. It just seems like you do. Seems like you have choice, but you haven't really got a choice. Because conditions decide what's going to happen. So being self-conscious, Julia, being embarrassed, gone. This is identification stuff. This is you identifying with some story about how you should be. So if you feel embarrassed, you feel embarrassed. Do you allow it to control what you do? If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. I don't know. But if you recognize that it's just a sensation with stories, what you might find is that you've got courage, if that's what you want to call it, to do something in spite of being embarrassed. I mean, you did, you spoke, even though you felt self-conscious about it before you did. It is what it is, what it is. Whatever turns up is okay. Yeah. I feel like I'm lecturing.
Yeah, a little bit. I open to another quick practical suggestion then. So what happens often in the beginning when we kind of try to get into the sensations and to feel them is there's often a lot of fear, because it feels unsafe, because we are not used to that, because we are used to being in the mind, and so going to the body, it can feel very, very unsafe, and so it can be very challenging. And I've been doing that for quite a while, and it took me quite a bit of time to like get to a point where I was just kind of feeling safe enough to be able to just feel sensations, which kind of sounds strange now, but that's the nature of how the mind works. And so one sort of intermediary step to that could be is that if the mind is too active, there is just too many stories, it can be like too difficult. Like you try to feel into there and there is a thought, one thought, another thought, the next thought, and it's like, no, we cannot do that. No, we cannot do that. No, we have to say that. No, it's not safe. So one thing you can do is try to just look at those thoughts directly. And one thought that one belief that you mentioned that caught my attention is that you said that I need to do something or it will get worse. I need to do something or it will get worse. So you can look at that, like what exactly will get worse? What exactly does it say? And as you kind of look at the belief, you look at your own thoughts, and then as you kind of notice that and observe it and explore it really, then you might notice that it doesn't have as much substance to it, and then it can weaken a lot and sort of drop away a little bit to a point where you can feel a bit more safety. So if you just look at it like what will happen, what do you need to do, what's the worst that could happen if you don't do something about it?
That's funny. I'm just saying, I find looking at my thoughts very difficult. Just because I get caught up in them and I end up thinking my thoughts and being in a story, and I repeatedly find myself in the story, believing it, identified with it, and then pissed off that it happened again.
The key is just focus on one thing. So focus on one thought. The thought is what the belief is, I need to do something or it will get worse. So just focus on this one thought, like what will get worse? Why do you need to do something? What is going to happen? And just if you just stay with that thought, and you can see what happens. You don't need to, and if it gets too much, it's okay. You can take a break. But what kind of things come up? You can see what sort of stories or thoughts come up.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I can already think of things getting worse, and I can tell lots of stories. I could make myself very miserable for the next hour thinking of how things could get worse. And I don't know what I would how I would benefit from. I
Well,
can
you
bring
can
up
explore it.
various
You
things
could,
from my history. It can go worse like it was then, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and I could be all on my own, and I could have no job, and all this. I can make up stories about how it could get worse for ages. I don't know how I would learn from that right now. Maybe I sound really obtuse, but I just
yeah, that's a good point. So the idea is that as you look at these stories, first of all, you will see, well, is it really that bad? Is it something that's so horrible? And second of all, you will see, well, how likely is it? Is it actually something that might actually happen? And as you just explore it, you think you might notice that it's just like air. It's not real. There's really nothing that's too big and too, like, you can just pick one. Like, what's the first one that comes to mind, just to explore it briefly.
like now, you mean, is it?
Yeah. If you feel like it.
Let me see. What would I say? Well, I mean, yeah, one thing is, I guess one of my stories is that this feeling of wrongness thing makes it very hard for me to do okay in my career because I have no confidence. So I just do a really boring job that makes me frustrated every day, and that seems to be going on for decades, and it doesn't change because I can't feel confident. So that could, and and that has it spills over into other areas of my life. My confidence is bad in other areas because of that. And I haven't enough money, and everything is, just difficult every day. So I can tell myself a story about that, and I go, well, I'm surviving it. It hasn't killed me yet, but I don't enjoy it. And I can see that continuing on until I retire, and me being somewhat down about myself because of that. And that's just one strand of and I can sort of see that continuing because it has gone on for nearly 25 years. So I don't know what to make out of that. That's going to be helpful for me right now.
Well, what's the worst that would happen? You have a boring job, and you've had a boring job before, and you have it for the next,
it's okay.
for many
I
years.
can still pay my mortgage. Exactly. I can still pay my mortgage. It's not terrible. Yeah. It's not terrible. So it's not terrible. I have a government job. I'm going to keep it, so it's not going to get worse probably. So that's probably okay. So sometimes I can say something positive about it that way. That's true. Yeah.
One of the things, Don, one of the things that has been suggested here is that by looking at the stories, your thoughts were, you said earlier that if you start looking at them, you'll get sucked into them and then away you go. Well, if that happens, that's fine. But the time will come when you realize you've been sucked into them. And that's the moment that you celebrate that fact. Now, what with the reason, the value in looking at the stories is that hopefully you suddenly start to see how empty they are. Right? Stories are thoughts, and thoughts have no power whatsoever. You have to be a willing slave to your thoughts to do what they say. And that's what you have been forever and ever, because the best kind of slave is the one who doesn't think he's a slave. He never tries to escape. Yeah. So one of the things to realize, and it's a big one, is that when we think we do something that brings about change, it's because change has happened, but change almost always only happens because of seeing it. Not because you do anything. Doing something about it is a story that comes on after the fact, right? But simply looking at it square in the face is what changes things. It can't stay the same if you see it clearly. And all these stories rely on that, what's a good word? I don't know the word, of obscuration. Now, what happens is that as you face those stories, they get like a dark cloud, okay? And they threaten you with thunder and lightning to not go near them. You're just going to react to that dark cloud. But if you're courageous enough to approach it and look at it, all of a sudden you see it's empty. There is no rain in it. There is no thunder and lightning. It was all just a threat. Seeing it is what, so getting into the details. So what you'll find is, and a good exercise for you to do is listen to other people over the next week. Listen to them talking and having a conversation with themselves and try and pick out how many concepts they use in one sentence. You'll be amazed. You'll find that people will use 3 or 4 concepts in one sentence. And those concepts, they're absolutely no detail whatsoever. It's all a vague kind of feeling thing that they're relating with. Right? So as soon as you use a label of any kind, be suspicious, because that's a concept. A label is a concept that keeps you away from the actual thing. So it's interesting how the brain works on this. I mean, forgive me for repeating myself, somebody, but you're walking along a path and you come around a corner and there's this thing in front of you and you immediately go, oh, that's a tree, right? The moment you say it's a tree, you stop looking at it. You kind of do look at it, but not in a focused way, okay? And what happens is that you've got this tree story in your head that you start relating to, but you stop relating to the actual tree. You no longer notice details about it, unless of course you're called to look at some detail. But basically, if you just keep walking and it's there, it's just a tree that you passed. You know you passed a tree, but it happened in your head. It didn't actually happen. It was just, so what happens is, as soon as we get a label, we start relating to the label. We don't see the details that are behind the label. So and how do you tell if something is a concept, right? It's a story about something. It's never the actual thing. It's always about the thing. Right, so there are descriptions, and descriptions are not normally conceptual unless they contain morals. You know, if we say, yeah, that we describe something as good or bad, you know, then of course we're into concept land. But if we're describing what we're actually experiencing, we're not in concept. So if people are telling stories about things, they're in concept land. So you just notice how much of that goes on in our society. It's huge, but there's a good exercise for you to do during the week, because you do it a lot. You do it yourself. You know, your sentences will contain 3 or 4 concepts that influence your life, but they're just stories.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll keep an eye, look at that. Funny, I was just noticing while you were talking about the suggestion of looking into thoughts. It's funny, I'm noticing my sensations or feelings or something. It's I'm not very good at it, but I feels okay-ish. I can stay with feeling something or sensing something and it feels clear enough. But as soon as I go into thoughts, it just, I can feel, even without the words, the explicit, I can feel stories grabbing me. I can feel myself becoming part of a story within a story. Even if I don't even know what the stories are, I can feel it. I'm in it. And I'm in there listening to you from inside somewhere, and I'm feeling the results of those stories without even knowing what the words of them are. I'm like, oh my God. I'm just identified with I don't know what now at this point. It just feels, as soon as I start looking at thoughts, I feel I'm in that place, and I'm like, oh, I have to get out of here. This is horrendous. I didn't even know what I'm believing, but I know I'm believing stuff, and it's not.
Yeah,
It feels
yeah.
weird.
Mm.
Ugh.
Yeah, you're scared. I mean, it's a kind of a big statement, but I see the self as like a chainmail armor. You know, it's a defensive thing that we do, and these thoughts that suck you in so vividly, they're keeping you away from what's actually going on. They're keeping you away from feeling. And it's like part of you believes that if you get into those feelings, or catastrophe, right? And it might be that, you know, a common one, and I don't know if it's the case for you or not, is oh, if I open the floodgates, I'll never stop crying, or I'll never stop being angry, or I'll never stop something. You know, the floodgates thing is, it could well be exactly what the kind of thing that you're experiencing is. I don't know, but worth looking at. Yeah. Looking at with
Yeah,
humor.
I do sometimes think about both of those things. The crying and the being angry could just go on forever, possibly. Yeah, I don't know what to. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, Dawn, I just wanted to say that you expressed that so beautifully, and I also relate so much. I often used to think it felt like sort of instead of the, you know, those little captions on cartoons where the voice is speaking like that, it sort of felt like almost like I was sort of being sucked into all the mental thoughts, and this sort of selfness of thought was just couldn't resist, and was sort of almost being sort of sucked into the bigger conversation of the whatever was going on outside. I thought you expressed that really well. And it's so wonderful just having noticed that movement, how quick it happens. It's how quick it happens just from being in the body and then starting to engage. It's like, what, why do I jump out of myself? Why do I jump out of myself, you know, into this sort of mind that's so, has so many different parts and different ways of thinking about things or attitudes. And it's so much habit. And little
Yeah,
by
so that's what I'm
little,
thinking. I'm asking that. I mean,
bringing
I'm
the
asking that.
calm.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just coming back to the calm space, always just coming back.
That's the best.
An
I do ask
ongoing
that
process.
why, not like even in the, what's the word? I ask that question, why do I, or how do I get? And sometimes I think I was when I'm watching for the next thought, and I always feel like almost feel like I see the second thought and the ones after that. The second thought says, you're already identified, you screwed it up, and now you're, you know, and then you're identified with all the other ones. And I feel I'm the one who's failing at inquiry now for the rest of my meditation. And but once or twice well, I think maybe only once I felt like I saw the first thought. I was pretty present. I'd listened to some meditation, and it felt like the first thought was like a non-verbal energy just twisted and pulled me into identification, and then I was thinking about myself after that. And I thought, can I see the first thought? It feels like there's a first thought. Can I see the first thought in future, the one that identifies me or something? I very seldom notice that, or I feel like that's what I want to do, is see the one that makes me feel like someone who is now thinking. And I don't know. I'm trying to see why the thing get pulled in, and it feels very subtle sometimes, and then very heavy, subtle and heavy. And I'm in this, like I just described, in stories, and I go, how did this happen? How do I get out of here? Anyway, I'm not sure how you all do that. How maybe it's just as you say, just relaxing and.
Yeah. You don't say, how did I get out of it? You don't say, how did I get in here? You say, what is happening? What is the only legitimate question? Mm. But yeah, you bring up something that's interesting, and that is thoughts inside thoughts inside thoughts. Thoughts are absolutely amazing things. We tend to think that our thoughts are just like verbal, like a line of text, running along the bottom of the TV screen all the time. But our thoughts can take that form, and they can take a whole lot of other forms. And we can have thoughts that are images, we can have thoughts that are sounds, we can have thoughts that are verbal, we can have thoughts that are non-verbal, they can be kind of feeling thoughts, like that. They can take on all sorts of different ways of appearing to us. But you'll never get an answer to how did they happen, or why did it happen. I mean, you could get answers to why, but they'll be just constructions anyway. May or may not be real or accurate. But yeah, the form of our thoughts, and as I say, they can be incredibly seductive, and they just know exactly how to suck us in. Judy looks like she's in Alaska.
I'm up in the Welsh mountains,
Oh, okay.
which and when I first moved in this to the UK, I thought these aren't mountains, these are hills, because I'm used to, American Majesty mountains that are just so now, but now after living in going up into the mountains, it's like, yeah, I'm up in the mountains, but it's hilly. It's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, I just had some thoughts, but I think what was helpful for me was I remind myself, well, because I have that dead end jobby thing and all that stuff, and the money thing and the getting older thing and all that stuff. And when I go into that spiral, or when the spiral starts to come, I just kind of go, well, what do I want? Do I want a better job, or do I want equanimity and wakefulness? What is my goal? Oh yeah, that my goal isn't a better job or more money or blah 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 blah. My goal is to wake up, and so I make that. And I don't like to tell people to have intentions, but you set you set that there, and then so each time when anything comes in, I'm like, well, what does that got to do with what I'm interested in? Nah, it doesn't really matter. That's the stuff that I was caught up in before my whole life. Why would I want to go back there, and get caught up in it? And then also with the thought thing, that kind of negative land, it's good to look at the mechanics of the brain and how it really just a survival, all that stuff is about survival, and will I be able to survive? And so, and then there's all the conditioning you have on yourself of other people and other situations from when you were a baby telling you this is what you have to do. People are always quite negative. That's what your what's the word, template is. There's a template that's been installed sort of in you, that these are the things you go to when you're in thought. Do you see, does that make sense? So it is good to do that exploration. But another thing I found is I don't do too much. Like I was don't do too much of that work, what they call the shadow work or whatever. You know, give yourself a break from it, because that it is actually, in reality, I think we are not doing it. It's not our effort. So we have to release from that, on occasion, that belief that there's someone making effort, you know, because there isn't, you know, that's a concept as well, isn't it? So yeah, it's and then sometimes we have to go back into the belief of effort, just, you know, to get to the place we need to get. But then when we have those glimpses, we have those moments of realizing it's not a separate self doing this, we need to remember, just don't overdo that. Don't overdo that going back into the effort. Give yourself, okay, I'm going to take 5 minutes or an hour, and I'm not going to make any effort to try to solve this, because the mind always wants a solution, and the mind thinks it is in control and can make the solution by thinking it out. So the mind says, you've got to think about this over and over and over again until you find the solution. And that's just not that's not true. Does that make sense to you?
Me, yeah. I mean, well, one of the things, the phrase that comes to mind that I've heard quite a lot is "don't resist the resistance," and I often go, "But the resistance is bloody well there. I have to do something." Like it feels like my mind will try to figure stuff out all day long, every day, unless I try and stop it from doing or something, you know. Unless I go, hold on a second, let's do something else, because it would just be constant thinking and struggle, and all this would be happening. Unless where I am, even if I don't exist, someone here, something tries to change that pattern, it will just remain. That's what it seems like. And it feels like sometimes it feels like I have to make enormous effort to get to the point of being able to not make effort. It takes like, it feels like I've been gritting my teeth for 4 years, dragging myself back to the present moment, hour after hour, day after day, until in the last few weeks or months, I can go, okay, I can sit here now some days and I can be here and I can watch my thoughts. But it took 4 fucking years of gritting my teeth and going, I'm going to come back here and I'm not going to even have a meal. I'm going to starve to death. If you know, I'll be here for 3 hours. I'm going to sit and look at this fucking wall over here until I stay in the present moment for a long, you know, and now I'm like, okay, I can sit here now and calm down and go, okay, now I'm going to watch my thoughts. Oh my God. And then I kind of calm down a bit, and I know I don't sound calm, do I? But
what helped me too was
anyway.
what helped me too is to look at paradox, because paradox is, okay, you make an effort until you don't have to make an effort anymore, kind of thing. You know, it's saying, yeah, you have to make an effort, but you're not doing it, you know. So then you go, well, then I can't, I'm not going to make an effort, but then I'm still in this place where I'm suffering. So I look at paradox sometimes, you know. You just go, oh yeah, there's paradox and the mind can't solve that, you know. And you start, and like Vince said, I thought what Vince's advice was so good about, just take a week and look at how other people walk around doing concepts, because it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to see that we're doing that ourselves. But if we start looking at other people and go, oh my gosh, all the things they keep saying that is a fact, you know, oh, that, you know, these concepts they have, and you'll start to see how, and you'll look at the person and go, well, that's not even true about this person. If you know them, they just said something that's not even true about themselves, and they believe that. So that observation, you know, is really helpful to kind of make you can relate and go, oh, well, how do I do that? How am I doing that? You know, and it's observing.
I can read too.
observation.
After that, I was saying to Vince how this therapist had said to me, I would say accused me, I'll just say this therapist had said to me, I believe my thoughts more than anyone else he's met, you know. And then I was looking around, and I think that's probably true. But then I was looking around at my friends in the following weeks or months, going, everybody believes their thoughts. Oh my God, everyone's in a story all day, every day. And the only way they relax in the evenings is not because they're out of their story. I think it's just because their story is going okay at the moment, so they can ignore it for a while. And I'm just watching all my friends being in their story all day, and I'm going, okay, at least I'm not the only one in a story, and I can kind of see a little bit, you know. Yeah,
You might be the only one that realizes what's going on there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I can sort of see it a little more better, so it helps a little bit, I think. Yeah, sometimes it makes it a bit easier. Yeah, and I guess I don't give myself credit. That's part of my story, not giving myself credit for seeing. But
Hmm.
I resonate so much, Don, with, you know, with the way you express and feel, you know, your feelings that you have about yourself. And in the end, because in the, like in the spiritual world or other people who've been on a path, and it's always sprouting positivity. And I sort of went through that phase. But I'm still surrounded by people who sprout positivity. And so this bad person says, well, I don't feel like that, and that's bullshit, that's nonsense. And so then it's like, okay, but I know enough with from the experiences of real awakening experiences that there is this place of equanimity and joy, and that comes, and then sometimes it's not there, and so that when it's not there, then there's the other voices. So it's much more, my view is, it's not embracing shadow per se, because I don't see it as shadow. I see it as like, what's in the way? And so if there's like, there is a bad thought, or if there is like resistance, or is there some self-talk, or what I was saying before, like the gremlin voice, which is sort of like got its own opinions. It's like just sort of welcoming it and then feeling it, and sort of in a way busting it little by little, just so this embracing of, instead of trying to be something which already is, it's like, what's in the way, what are the filters, what are in the way of that? And so then it's, I feel like that way one can really embrace one is because you know that it's a filter of what already is. It's just a filter that, as Vince said, if it's a thought, it's pointing to something. If it's a feeling, it's pointing to something. And it's just these, you know, gossamer layers of conditioning, and to be investigated, but gently, without effort, because you can just stop and say, oh, that, okay, you know, and just noticing it without even hardly stopping for a moment is in a way busting it a little bit, because bring a bit of light of awareness onto it.
yeah, I'm trying to do it now. I'll just tell you, I'm trying to do it now. I have this deja vu thing where I, like, for 30 years, I guess, doing this, whatever, you know, going to a retreat, and then within 5 minutes, everyone turning to help me because I'm the biggest loser in the group. And everyone's being very nice and I'm like, oh, you know, you're so kind, thank you so much. I'm like, why the fuck am I the one, you know, being helped by all these lovely people, and I'm going, oh no, I can't do it. And so that judgment is going on all the time while you're helping me. I'm like, oh, I'm the one who can't, you know, and oh yeah. And so I'm trying to observe that while listening to you, and observing this, and I'm going, that's another story. I have to try to get outside. It feels so real because it's happened so many times. I'm trying to get outside that story in some way, going, that's just a story too, isn't it? I don't know.
Well, it's embracing it because it's actually, it's sort of radical honesty. Okay, I have that feeling that people want to help me, and why should they want, you know, and all the complexities, and maybe there's anger and wanting to push them away. It's like, who go mind your own business, you know. It's like, can be a very complex package, and just, yeah, it's just like the real honesty of that moment of this is going on, and this is a package of a bubble of content that is really worth looking at. Because it ultimately, none of it's personal, it's just somehow there to be discovered and dissolved.
Yeah. Ugh. Ideally. I'm confused now. Sorry, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I'm
Sorry.
just curious, what have you been doing any sort of practice, or have you, what's your, I missed the beginning, so you might have gone over this already, what your journey's been. Have you already gone over this with you?
Well, I guess very briefly with Vince at the start. I started meditating when I was like 25, which is about 30 years ago. I joined a Buddhist group, and I incredibly distracted for 2 years, and then I had a sort of experience, I guess, at a retreat, which seemed to show me that I wasn't my thoughts and emotions. It seemed really clear. It was there for a long time, and then I was trying to see how to get back to that, as it were, and nobody really explained anything. So I was going for 10 or 15 years to these retreats, and I just no one, everyone just said, just do some mindfulness meditation or do some chanting in Tibetan, and after 15 years, I was like, oh, this is no point in this. No one has any understanding what I'm talking about. And so about 4 years ago, I came across a therapist who was like, you can go to non-duality teachers, they'll tell you. And I started doing that, and spent a year at Rupert Spira and a year or so with Francis Lucille, and then I came across Angelo DeLillo about a year ago. So then I've been in Paul Hederman. So I've been, this year I've been practicing something, I don't know, several hours per day, watching lots of non-duality stuff and sitting and doing self-inquiry and meditation as best I can. But I'm not as consistent as I think I should be, because it depends on the day. If I feel like, you know, distracted or depressed or anxious or something else, or inspired, or you know, just depends on the day. So I'm trying to kind of do self-inquiry and look at who I think I am or whatever. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm often, you know, it might not be an exaggeration to say I've been practicing 4 or 5 hours a day every day for this year, like really sitting, and yet a lot of the time there's a meditation video on the background because I get distracted so much. And some days I'm fairly clear, other days I'm just up in a heap, totally distracted. And I've been to a number of online retreats, and I was just at Angelo's real life retreat in North Carolina 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And sometimes I get real clarity. And just I'll ramble on for a second, because it helps me. He had an online retreat in July, and I went to the UK. Actually, I was in Wales, actually, a friend of mine, where we do this thing together, and we decided to do the online retreat together, and we rented a cottage and in Wales, and I really kind of felt I heard something he said. He was explaining to someone, my friend's friend from Germany was asking. She said, I've been meditating for 20 years and I don't know what awakening is. Can you tell me? And so Angela was saying to her something like, Oh, sorry, there's someone at the door. Can I just get the door? Can you 2 seconds?
Yeah.
Sorry. 1 second. Let's see. Oh, you're going to get the door. Someone else get it. Sorry. He was explaining what awakening is, and he was like, just let go of all your thoughts and concepts, and just, he was saying to her, explain to me what you think it is. And he kept on telling her to drop her thoughts and her concepts and so on. And I could see her looking for an explanation, and in her head she was going, I must have read this someplace, I must have heard this, I must have it, and I was thinking, no, it's not, like, you can't explain that, you can't, there's no explanation for it, it's just your experience, he's telling you it's just this. You can't explain it or understand it. And I could really see really clearly that it couldn't be understood. It was just your experience of the moment right now. And my friend asked me a couple of days later to tell her again, and I was embarrassed, of course, to try to explain, but I did point it out. So I felt I was able to see really clearly for a while, for a few weeks back in July and August. It was just this experience of the moment, the thoughts, the sights and sounds and sensations. There was, like, my pointer for it at the time was that there's an instant before the naming of things. It's just fresh experience without any mind. And I could see that really clearly for several weeks. And yet the thoughts and emotions were in the background, kind of, not really included in that understanding. And I was trying, and Violet, Angelo's girlfriend, helped me to get into that and kind of go into consciousness and see it. And yet the distraction came back, and the clarity sort of seems to have evaporated a little bit. I even saw Angelo. Violet organized it, and by the time I saw Angelo for an hour in September, I was very distracted, and I'd been anyway. But so I don't know. I thought I saw it really clearly, and I was just going, can I just integrate the thoughts and emotions into this, because I can see this very fresh and clear. And
Yeah,
yet,
the thing is, you don't really integrate the thoughts and emotions into it.
yeah,
The
maybe, yeah.
integration is you're integrating towards that you woke up, and so you want to integrate into the wakefulness. You don't want to integrate that wakefulness into the thoughts and emotions, because they're not really, they're empty. They're just tricksters.
That's what I wanted to know what to do. So I feel like there's this doubt, this really intense doubt, and niggling away,
Yes.
saying, I mean, there's one part of some of the time, I'm not sure what I am this very moment, but some of the time I can go, and so I was on the retreat in North Carolina, and we had a place for a week afterwards, and I was a bit down in the dumps about a few things, but anyway, but I could see some of the mornings that we had an amazing deck, an amazing view, and I was there going, I'm just present. This is presence. I can feel identified as the present moment almost. Just this feels like peace. And yet there's a bunch of thoughts and emotions also telling me that I am that, I am them, and competing for my identity all the time, going, for some of the times I go, I can feel like I am awareness. It seems pretentious when I say it out loud, but there you go. It feels like I am that. And then there's this, the bunch of thoughts and emotions competing, going, they're just as, or even more confident that I am that identity of thoughts and emotions. And I kind of go, I have to undo this certainty of the thoughts and emotions in some way, because I have a doubt. The doubt is always there. What do I do about that? I don't feel confidently awake or whatever. I feel like there's awakeness and then there's doubt, which is quite intense. Anyway.
And they can be together, they can.
Absolutely.
Sorry,
Don,
I went on for ages.
No worries, Don. I've given you the exercise to watch what people say, but I'll give you another one. I want you to stop working at this in any way. Now,
Oh my God.
You're allowed to go and meditate if you can say to yourself, I'm doing this with an attitude of play. You're allowed to listen to an audio or watch a video if you're doing it with an attitude of play. But if there's any seriousness, you're not to do it at all.
Oh my God.
You're all these things you've been doing to not get where you want to go. It's keeping you away from it.
Okay.
I know it
Just
sounds
do it.
paradoxical. For a week, please try it.
I'm almost not joking when I say I'll have to work very hard to generate an attitude of play. I don't, I don't know how to feel like that with. I don't know.
That's the honesty again. You don't need to work. If you don't feel like playing, if somebody said, you know, come on, let's go and I don't know what, go on a hike for the day, and
Yeah.
you're not in the mood for it, they'll say, no, I don't feel like it. So it's this part in you of a mind or that is saying, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And then there's the other part saying, I don't really feel like doing that. And so then you come up with a statement like, I don't feel like, it doesn't feel like play. Because that's just really being honest and looking at those words and saying, okay, what would I rather be doing? Because it in a way it's following. It's not if you give value to the part that says I should be doing this and it's efforting, and then you've got this natural other part that says, and I'm not going to use the R word, but that there is something else underneath that is in the way, then there's something to investigate. And it's by saying, oh yes, well, I'm going to see what the problem is and I'm going to get past it. You're just reinforcing that identification with that part that is the parental voice in your head, for example, running, which has been running as a program ever since, tiny. I should be doing because that's what's good for me. And then there's naturally another part that doesn't want that. So it's just this honesty, instead of trying to make it otherwise, of seeing that. And feeling the energy too, of feeling the energy of that self-criticism of I don't feel like playing, it should be play, to the part, but how does that actually feel when you feel like that you should be feeling that way, but you really don't feel that way? And how does that feel? Because there can be an awful lot of sadness underneath it, or or feelings that are quite surprisingly not the opposite, but it's a real opportunity to go deeper, because I had that a lot with for a long time with seriousness, and it wasn't even resistance to serious, I just couldn't understand. And then I would do this thing like and I would feel that I was serious is not being playful, not laughing, and not, when Vince would say, and when I joined the group in the beginning, but I already had this problem before, because other people would say, why do you take yourself so seriously? And then I would search for it, but I couldn't find it. But at the same time, I couldn't find the laughter either. And so I just sort of sat with this, and it felt really tender, and it was young, and it just wanted to, even there wasn't any voices or anything, I can still feel it. And then there's this, you should be other voice. So I don't know, that, there might be two things going on there or more.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
it looks to me, what I'm feeling or hearing is you're already awake. You just don't believe that you are. So your belief is that you're not awake. So maybe look at that belief and go, why do I believe I'm not awake? And then those things will come, well, I'm still having negative thoughts. That doesn't mean you're not awake. well, I'm still nervous. That doesn't mean you're not awake. Who said, and that's why they work on the label thing. There's things to work on the labeling, take the labeling away. Because then when you take all the labeling away, you go, actually, I am. You see what I'm saying? And if you're going to go into believing that you're not awake, why not just go, oh, well, I'm going to try for a week believing that I am awake. Because if you're going to believe that you're not, why don't you just switch beliefs for a week? And even though you're faking it or you think it's not true, just keep going, no, I believe do you see what I'm saying? Because if you can go latch onto all these other beliefs that say you aren't, just and experiment. Like Vincent, experiment, try not to do anything. Well, my experiment is, well, why don't you just, if you're going to have beliefs and concepts, why not grab onto that one? Do you see what I mean? Do you ask yourself,
Yeah.
well, why? I'll grab that one if I'm going to have all this. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sometimes I can do that for a bit. I do tend to do why do I? Maybe that's the wrong question. I kind of
Why is
look
a
at
terrible question? Why
terrible
is
question.
why doesn't
Yeah.
exist? It's the worst
I
question
notice
in the world.
believing of those things, and I go, I just try to know. I don't know what I do, but I notice that I believe those. I guess you could say negative things about myself, and I kind of wonder. Yeah, I wonder why, or I try to see what if I can see underneath. What's the what am I saying? I can see the belief in, yeah. Even there was there was one of somebody sent me a meditation of Angelos the other day, and it was just about this very question of, maybe the only thing between you and awakening is believing that you're not awake. And it was all the way through. And I was just
Amazing.
watching this going, where is this belief exactly? What's that? Where, what, why do I believe? Or what
No,
even
why?
is that?
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
Why puts you back into the spaghetti factory? Puts you back into, I'm going to figure this out with thought factory. Because
Yeah,
why is a survival question? No,
I suppose.
I need to know why in order to stay safe. I need to know why so I can know where the exit is.
I'm more like I'm saying, I'm thinking what I'm saying is I'm watching sort of the seeming certainty of the belief that I couldn't possibly be. And I'm going, what's the certainty there? Why? I mean, I don't know why, but why is that really certain? That thing that seems really certain to me, these things I believe, are they really as certain as they sound or they seem? Why, yeah, can I
But
just keep
you
watching?
ask why? Are you using why a lot?
I don't know. Maybe I am. I'm just.
Maybe I mean, maybe don't allow yourself to say why for a week. I mean, there's all kinds of different things we can try for a week. And I'm not allowed to ask why.
Okay.
And when you fail, chuckle.
Yeah.
As soon as you realize you've
Yeah.
had a laugh.
And
Yeah.
go, I did it
Yeah.
again. Just catch yourself and don't go, why did I use why? Why am I using
Yeah.
why? And then you'll see it's an endless
Mm.
thing, isn't it? But know why. You can't ask why. And try to stay away from how the week after that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to think back to I'm even now seeing a seemingly certain belief that I'm identified or I'm something, and I'm just going, what am I doing with that exactly? I'm just observing it just to see what it is or something, and kind of go, it seems so certain, but what's it even made out of, or or something? I'm just trying to see. It
Perfect.
seems so certain, that yet why is it really certain? Is it just feeling, or is it just? I'm just trying to see it, I think.
That's excellent. That's really, really good stuff. Yeah. And appreciate that you don't have to have an answer. Right. That if you've got the question and you're observing what's going on, that's all as far as you need to go. You absolutely do not need to have any kind of satisfactory answer. Yeah. So if you can you imagine watching yourself for a week and not interfering with anything?
Yeah.
Not changing the direction you're going in, not stopping yourself from doing anything, just watching whatever wants to happen, allowing it to happen, and just watching it. I mean, this is a fantasy, but if you can imagine that happening, it frees you from a lot of that needing to do stuff.
Mm.
Yeah. I sort of feel like I don't know, I feel I could go in these ridiculously addicted directions, like into fantasy thoughts and distraction and stuff. It's almost like, like the solution for an alcoholic is watch yourself drinking for a week and see how that goes. I'm going, I kind of feel I need to stop doing the, the fantasizing and the distracting and the whatnot, because it just makes me feel worse. I need to grit my teeth and stop myself. But maybe that's
Well,
not even possible.
maybe rather than trying to stop it, just watch how many times why comes up. Oh,
Yeah.
there's why again. And that's almost like because the thought streams are coming and go, oh wait, that's a why. Okay. But don't say don't do it or do it. Just go, that's a why.
Yeah, just
Oh
say
yeah,
it.
it's another why. Because if yeah, there's another one.
So Don, what's your beliefs about the existence of an inherently independent self running the show?
Oh. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. See, I'm kind of mixed, because I don't believe there is, and I see that there isn't sometimes, and yet there's a belief that there is one all the time running.
Right.
I know that I act as if, or I seem to behave or think as if there is a separate self. And I'm going, but I kind of know there isn't, and yet I believe there is, and it's weird. Why do I believe stuff I don't even believe? It was one of my questions.
Yeah.
Why do I believe stuff I don't believe?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Um,
I like it. Yeah.
Here's why again.
Oh, sorry. Oh no, damn. I should laugh. Yeah.
Yeah, laugh when you say it. Go, oh yeah.
So I believe it and I don't believe it at the same time. That's the kind of weird feeling I have with it.
Mm. So
And then yeah.
what we have is you can call that particular belief about a self the recognizing that the self is not an actual thing. That could be called stream entry, or the first fetter is another concept that we can overlay on that. Or there's a whole lot of different labels that we can use to describe that particular one. But if we use the fetter model, then doubt is the second fetter. Doubt about what you see. Because it's these thoughts that come up and say, well, logically, I can't be awake because I still feel like I'm doing things. Right? That's doubt. That's thought doubt. It's a logical conclusion. So you can see that there is no actual self running the show, yet still feel like there is one running the show. They're not contradictory.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see a puzzle. I can see a puzzle. The apparent contradiction is the story that says they can't coexist. let me tell you, they can coexist. So you can
Okay.
be awake and believe you're not awake.
It's I kind of feel like I should close the window. Sorry, there's building going on outside. But I feel like I should be certain at all times that there's no separate self, or otherwise I have, it should be clear to me at every moment of the day. Otherwise, I haven't achieved whatever,
Okay. Well, my experience says it's going to take about 12 months for that certainty to appear.
Okay.
12 months of being awake before you start
Okay.
to relax into that certainty. Because there's no such thing as certainty. There's only the opposite. So you can say when the opposite isn't there that you're certain, but you don't go around going, I'm certain of this. That doesn't happen, does it?
I suppose. I was disappointed that, as I say, I don't know what happened 23 years ago, but it felt like I saw that so clearly, and I completely lost that clarity again for 20 years. And now I don't know. So I worry that it's possible for me to just
You're not saying that what happened 23 years ago was a lie, are you? You're quite certain that was a genuine experience that you had.
Yeah.
And it was. Okay. So what appears to be that you lost something was very likely that as a result of that seeing, a lot of your filters were removed and stuff has come up that you've then misinterpreted as meaning that you're not awake.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That's possible, I suppose. Yeah, thanks.
Which
it
has
seems
the
like
result.
identification, but
Yeah. But that has the result of you being not awake.
Okay.
So you can be awake, believe you're not awake, and therefore be not awake.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So the feeling of, so you're saying the thing you said a minute ago that it's possible to be, what was it? To see through the first and not the second fetter, is it like to feel?
Yeah.
This
So
kind
the
of,
second fetter is doubt.
yeah,
And so
that's
you
what I
can
feel I
see
need.
through. You're quite clear that 20 odd years ago, what you saw was what was actual. What you saw was that there was nobody running the show. You had a relaxed
Yeah,
clarity about what was going on.
it really seems, I was
Then,
really surprised that there was some awareness. I remember even thinking, sorry, I remember even thinking to myself, I thought, if the Dalai Lama comes in here and tells me that I'm wrong, I'll tell him to get stuffed, because I know that this is clear to me.
you were so sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so here we've got this wonderful contradiction, paradox almost, that you saw what you saw quite clearly, you know that it was true, and yet you somehow can't apply that to yourself today because of a feeling that's not there.
Something like,
Yeah, it's probably more than
because
yeah.
seems like I respond to my thoughts and emotions as if they're about me now. When at that point I kind of saw clearly that they weren't about me. And things didn't trigger me for a short length of time.
Right. And you can still see that they're not about you, can't you? But your behavior is that they are about you, but you can see that they're not really, eh? Is that accurate?
I kind of can. It's just the feeling response is very strong as if they are, yeah.
And it's the stories that are attached to that feeling. You see, it's really interesting the way feelings validate thoughts and thoughts validate feelings. It's a bit of a closed loop thing.
Yep.
When I listen to you, it seems like we have the same story going on. For me, it was 3 years ago. And yeah, you said something like you're feeling weak and you need the group and you will never make it. And actually, when you say this and I hear this, I see very clearly it's the perfect story. The perfect story to prevent you from this.
Okay. You're saying you had this story before and now you don't. Is that what you're saying?
No, I have the same story going on. So
Okay.
now during I'm speaking, I'm thinking, okay, I don't have the right to say this because I'm not awake. So this is story. But I say it nonetheless.
Yes, good,
Feels
good.
good.
Because there's no such thing
Yeah.
as rights or not rights. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said it.
But
Yeah.
this is this victim story. It seems like. I know it.
Yeah, see, the amazing thing that happens here in these groups is people share their actual experience. And amazingly, somebody else experiences.
Try again.
And even though everybody's got their own unique take on it, there are connections, there are commonalities between them. Yeah. It's brilliant, brilliant. Yeah. So it's the light of investigation that we're bringing to these things. We just look at it. All we want to do is look at it clearer and clearer and clearer, get closer and closer and closer to it. And all of a sudden, the old stories that we had about it fall apart. They're obviously empty because they rely on being obscure. They rely on keeping a distance for them to have any power. They don't actually have any power, but we give them power because we don't get to look at them close enough to see that they're empty.
I'm not sure about working with doubt for some reason. Feels like it's kind of heavy or something. Somebody was saying, it was a quick thing. Somebody was saying to me recently about the victim, because I feel like that a lot. And they were telling me about suggesting shadow work and saying, pointing at, identifying with the perpetrator, as it were, the one who's doing the frightening or doing the negative story, whatever, the criticism or something, and trying to feel that. It sometimes feels to me that I feel like a victim of my own negative stuff, and I'm going, maybe I need to feel more into that or identify with it or something to own it more. I'm not sure if I understand that very well, but it's weird. Sometimes I feel like I said before, I don't have permission not to believe my negative thoughts. Like, they're my thoughts. What am I, or whatever? Why don't I have permission? I'm not sure if that makes any sense. I'm just
Yep, absolutely. So when you say you feel like a victim,
Makes sense.
what does a victim feel like?
Um,
How do you know it's a victim?
um, someone who doesn't have the power to change things, or
Okay. So now
doesn't
you're
feel
saying
that they
a feeling of helplessness.
yeah, or feel like they can.
But more than just helpless, a victim is
Yeah.
somebody that is helpless and gets pushed around.
Yeah.
So you can be helpless, not a victim. But anyway, okay. So what's pushing you around? Where's the push coming from?
It's just I feel like it's just habitual stuff that's just there. I'm so used. I mean, it's just almost the imaginary energy of my dad, who's dead already, but
Yep.
I'm just in that habit of responding to the world as if the world is my dad.
Yep.
And that I'm just going to be criticized at every moment. Everyone's going to be angry with me all the time. And I'm
Okay.
just ready for that all the time. And I know he's not here. And yet I can see myself responding to the world always as if it's going to be angry with me.
Yeah. He is here,
so-
actually. Yeah.
Okay.
He's alive in you. Don't you worry. He's here.
Yeah. That's what I'm, that's in there,
And this
yeah.
is the shadow work that you were referring to earlier, essentially. So would you say that there's a desire to live up to his ideals or something that he expressed?
Yeah, there is, but I think there's because even if even the thing used to say about his own mother, the most common thing he would say is, "You could never satisfy her." So it's like my dad was a kind of perfectionist, and he was controlling and angry and critical. It's like there is no way to understand what he wants. He just always seems to be angry and critical, and there's a sense of you'll never ever be right. You'll never get it right. You'll never. He will be angry the next time, no matter what. So there's no specific set of criteria to live up to. It's just never getting there is the only possible state to be in. Always knowing that the next thing will be wrong, the next thing will be wrong, and you'll be anger and criticism will arise. Just this feeling of never being able to,
Yep. And did you ever reach a stage where you stopped trying? Did you get to the stage where you said, fuck him, I'm not going to try anymore to do what he wants?
I guess I got away. I mean, I got away and stuff and went and did my own thing as best I could.
Okay.
But not as much anger. I mean, there was some anger there and various things, but also depression. But I feel I had brought it with me so much that it was in my system. I almost believed for a long time that they were my standards as well. And I have, similar. So I didn't fully get away. Like my sister got away quite early and left the country and everything. She doesn't have the same experience, but I don't feel I fully got out from under. And I mean, many of the things he wanted me to do were things I wanted. I wanted to do well in college and have a good career and do stuff, and it's still affected me. So I'm still there now where what am I talking about? I don't know. It's almost like any of the left brain stuff is still in. All of that.
Yeah.
Whereas some right brain stuff, I sometimes do a little bit of strategic planning and stuff, and it seems completely free of that criticism.
Absolutely, yeah. That clarity that you had 20 odd years ago was a full-on right brain experience. Yeah. And then reverted back to a lot of left brain stuff for sure. But I forgot what I was going to say there.
If I ever got out from under his criticism, maybe, or if I ever.
Yeah. Well, you never did. You brought it with you. You took it wherever you went with you.
I fear to have, and then I work in a job that seems similar to. All those spaces seem to be similar to his space, so I feel like I'm in the people around me are like him. Whereas I was looking at one of the little things I could do, or I've discovered over the years, is some strategic planning stuff, and I've done little bits of that, and I seem to strangely find myself to be confident in that space. It feels like a creative space in some way. A friend of mine has been encouraging me with it recently, but I'm not sure if I could make a career out of that. It just sometimes it feels like a completely separate space from all of this criticism. It's kind of strange, but I didn't manage to. I don't want to go on forever. Sorry, I'm talking for ages.
Yeah, don't be sorry. No, this is good stuff, and it's really important stuff too. So you realize, of course, that he was just the way he was because of his circumstances and everything. His DNA and his circumstances and everything, right? But here's the thing that you may not have realized, and that was that when this first started for you, probably not long after birth, right? When
Yeah,
he
yeah.
wanted to be critical of you and so on, that he was expressing his own upbringing and his own conditioning, right? But you as a young person had no ability to manage that criticism, right? You took it to heart and you felt it deeply, right? And that's still what's in there. That there is no difference in the time when that first happened to now. It's as alive
Yeah.
now as it ever was then, right? Now, I thought what I was going to say and I've lost it again.
Mm.
That you carry that stuff with you, and anyway, it'll come back. Don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for I've been trying to root this stuff out for. I'm still embarrassed to be talking for so long. I've been trying to root this stuff out for
Belief,
decades.
Vince, isn't
Doing all
it?
kinds
That
of
you
research.
start to believe that that's
Hmm?
true.
You what?
What?
I didn't hear you. The last bit you got a bit cut off. Judy.
Yes, she's bad
To
internet.
me or Vince?
No, you're breaking
Oh,
up.
I said that's where the conditioning is. Oh, okay. I'll take off my camera maybe. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that's good now.
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's better. I just
Yeah.
it's the formation of that's the conditioning. So even before you could think, that beliefs kind of put in there through it's felt in a sense. I know that doesn't kind of make sense, but then as it's repeated continually, that becomes who you are. You believe that. You believe I am this person that can't do anything right. And it starts really young. And it's someone else's belief that they've put on you because they don't believe they can do anything right.
Yeah. I even
So
had that. Yeah. Totally.
do you ever go into that feeling of when you think about I can't do anything right and I'm a victim, do you ever just go into the feeling in your body or any of that kind of stuff, or
I
do you do
try and
any of
go
that
in.
kind of work?
There's a lot of resistance to feeling. I've been doing some MDMA assisted stuff in the past few months, about 6 months
Oh, right,
here.
interesting.
And because it's hard to go down into the body. I've been trying to go down. It feels like to feel there's a lot of I just stay up in the thoughts all the time. But I've
Yeah.
managed to go down there a couple of times with MDMA, and even with that, it's bloody hard. But I remember I had one experience last January where it felt like I went down. I followed a scary thought, but I went down. It felt like I was 1.5. The woman who were helping me asked me, and I said I was 1.5. And it seemed like
Yeah.
I saw. I didn't. There was no visual, but it feels like my dad turned up. I could feel my dad, and
Yeah.
it felt like all of his emotion, all of his fear and shame and sadness and everything was just flowed out of him and just filled me up to the brim and just completely filled me. When I was that age, I was like, I had to feel everything that he had.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I felt completely overwhelmed by it. And then I felt like I was stuck down in the unconscious because he wanted me to be under control so badly that rage would erupt from him if I did anything at all that he didn't want. So I had to stay completely on. So I had to control myself and not be spontaneous. So this is a slight irony with doing this whole non-duality thing or meditation, is that the lesson and I knew this was true, but the lesson from that as well was do not ever be in the present moment, because spontaneity could arise then and you could die from that, because your dad is not
Absolutely.
and he wants you to do what he wants. So I found that the separate self I can feel really strongly is like just and primarily a response to him. It's just going, what does he need? I'm going to be in this thought created space to respond to him and not be in the present moment or be spontaneous, because I could die, because rage will erupt and it's going to be so terrifying that I can't ever let that happen. So there's just parts and parts of me preventing me from ever being present
Yeah,
or
that's
being here, constantly distracting me in every possible way to going, do not ever be present, always be in a thought creative space, respond to the outside world, or else you might die.
yeah.
So that's
The big
Yeah,
what I
and
learned from that.
do you ever look at that now and go, they were actually there to help me, but now I kind of don't need them anymore, sort of idea? Has anyone presented you with that, where instead
try
of
and do that.
resisting them and hating them and going, go away,
No.
I hate you, I can't stand it,
It's not,
just go, thank, the whole kind of, I know you were there to help me, but I kind of don't, that's, you give it the attention it's asking for.
I did a thing called internal family systems for 4 years with 2
Yeah.
different therapists. And they were like, their conclusion at the end was not enough access to self energy, self with a capital S. There's my balloons. Which is weird because that self with the capital S should be like awareness or so. And it seems to be so much identification with these parts. There's a good, from that MDMA thing, it may say 5 or 6 main ones kind of collaborating together to make sure I never get to stay present for any length of time. And so I try to be, compassionate or grateful and whatnot for their, but there's so many of them cooperating that it's almost impossible to, in practice, you can work, it's like a tag team wrestling thingy where there's 5 or 6 of them and 1 of me, and I can get close to one of them and see through and work, and then almost immediately somebody else comes in and distracts me with a different. So I've struggled with anyway, sorry, I don't, but I've tried to work with it for a long time. It's strangely difficult to not get distracted by something else while I'm doing one piece of it. I'll get distracted by another part of it.
Okay, I remembered what I was going to say to you now. And as I was talking about how, you appreciate that your father's conditioning was the reason why he was like he was. Well, he's then passed on a lot of that conditioning to you, right? As a youngster. And as a youngster, you did not have the necessary skills to cope with what he was putting on. So you just had to accept what he was putting on you, and you had to contort yourself into a survival position, right? Now, here's an interesting one, and there's been a lot of psychological studies on this one. People who grow up in an authoritarian atmosphere live with survival as the forefront of their thing. So instead of working from this part of the brain, they're working from this part, the lizard brain, that primitive brain that's all about fight, flight, fright, freeze, all that stuff, survival stuff. Interestingly, those people usually have a more conservative political view as well. But that's another story. So what we've got is we've got an infant who's quite unable to have a perspective that recognizes that it's your father's problems that he was putting on you, right? And ironically, right now, that trauma carries the same thing as it did then. You're still a naive infant as far as your father's concerned, right? But you can take back to that part of you, the adult perspective that says, I know that it was his own conditioning that he was putting on me, right? And so you have forgiveness for him. You have compassion for him and the circumstances that he was in. But at the same time, you appreciate that as a result of now being an adult, that you can apply an adult perspective to what happened then. And that will free you from this conditioning that you've got that's really strong in there, right? So we're not just moving from left brain to right brain, we're moving from primitive brain to frontal cortex to right brain. That's what we're looking to do for you. So
you can do
yeah,
that.
you got a lot of shit in there. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. I know. I remember I did this neurofeedback thing, and he showed me the brain scan thingy, and it was more in the middle, in the mammalian brain. He showed me this really high activity,
Yes,
and
yes,
he
yes.
was going,
That's just survival stuff. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And he goes, that's just gonna, all the information that comes in through your senses comes up through there, and it's tagged as fearful and negative emotionally before it gets up to the cortex where you can think about it. So basically,
Yes.
thinking positively is going to be no benefit to you because everything is already tagged emotionally.
Yeah.
So that's a terrible story. But I was delighted to hear that story because I was going, well, thanks be to God, somebody has reported to me what my actual experience has been, because everyone else is saying, oh, you need to think more positively. Why do you think so much? And he's just saying thinking isn't going to change her. So at least like he sort of described my experience to me very accurately. Unfortunately, after 60 sessions of neurofeedback, or like 5 or 6 grand's worth of that, the very first day of it worked amazingly well, and everything. Somehow or other, my brain managed to, or I'm whoever managed to undo it. After that, as there was some, I don't know why my brain was so determined to go back to feeling miserable.
Yeah.
But the first day I did it, it was like the sun came out. I was like, oh my God, is this what regular people see when they look around? Like, opportunities and optimism and possibilities. Oh my God,
Yeah.
Anyway.
But the organism is really built to be attracted to familiarity, and we would rather be familiarly miserable than unfamiliarly happy. If you know what I mean, right? So familiarity is worth a lot. Our body will try and maintain whatever it's got, and it'll try and maintain our weight. It'll try and maintain our thoughts. It'll try and maintain everything, and familiarity is worth huge. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Although the experience of feeling relaxed is so nice,
Yeah.
feeling like in a state of flow, or feeling relaxed, or feeling peaceful, or feeling connected. I'm like, why wouldn't I just stay here? It feels kind of nice.
Yeah. But you don't deserve that, do you?
No, I don't. No. I'm not good enough. Yeah. It's been. Someone do me a favor and talk about themselves for a minute. I've been talking about myself for way too long. I feel embarrassed.
Oh, look, well, you've only apologized about 5 times so far for talking so much. No, it's
I
been
need to apologize
good
more often.
stuff,
Sorry.
Yeah, it would be a boring night if it weren't for you. I'm only joking. No, there's lots to not do, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And I feel optimistic. I feel quite optimistic for you. I don't think there's any real problems there at all. You have insight, and you've done a huge amount of work by the sound of it. You've done so many things trying to fix this. Now we'll fix it by not trying to fix it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's going back to that awakening experience that you had, and it was so lovely. And then these experiences, these moments of seeing so clearly, and it's just knowing that those insights, then allowing the space for a lot to be made for all this next layer that seems to be interminable, but little by little, with the clarity that you have, will slowly be moved through and seen and investigated. And it's sort of just part of the play, which doesn't feel like play a lot of the time.
And hear what Rowan is saying. You do have clarity. You do.
Yeah.
A huge thing.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes I do surprise myself by feeling like things are moving, or I'm okay, or there is clarity, or there's some space for me to see things reasonably.
So instead of looking for reasons why you're not there, now you can start looking for reasons why you are there. And then of course you'll get to the point very quickly where you realize that there is no there. There's no such thing as awake. There's just,
Yeah.
There's just this, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It all sounds so appealing to my sort of nihilistic, atheistic approach to things anyway. Like when Angelo says something like, there's no way that things are, I'm like, yes, totally. I agree with that. It feels like defining things as some human imposition.
Absolutely.
Things
Yeah.
that just, like everything just being whatever way it wants seems just more realistic to me.
Yeah, we've got boxes for everything.
Mm.
Mm.
And how does that feel to you when somebody speaks something and intellectually you grasp it, but there's also, is there a body sensation that goes with that too, of that, I resonate with that, that feels true to me? Is there a like it's like an insight or a yes with it that's more than intellectual?
I don't know. How do I tell? I don't know how to tell if there's a body sensation. I'm trying to see it now. I don't know really how to feel that.
Can you say again what you just said about what Angelo and Angelo mentioned that you said, yeah, that feels really true. And you don't need to go into the story about being nihilistic or an atheist or anything. You're just feeling into.
Yeah. Yeah, funny. Yeah. So if I say there's no way that things are, I feel relaxed about it. There's and there's a voice saying, "Oh, you should be frightened because it's all nothingness." But actually, I don't feel frightened by it. I'm like, no, it feels okay. I feel relaxed. And then there's the voice saying, "Is there not supposed to be a
And
fear
then there's,
barrier?
yes,
It's scary
the
here."
voice is
But
the overlay. The
yeah,
moment of expansiveness is the body. It's a body yes. It's a body yes to that. And then the voice comes afterwards, and it's noticing that even that gap in between what the body's resonating with. Whereas, taking the opposite, and if somebody says, well, there's an explanation for everything, and then you would feel the opposite. How would you feel, in your body when somebody was dogmatically, giving meaning to things when it doesn't feel true?
yeah, yeah. I'd be resisting that, I think, and it feels okay. But I can feel more scary thoughts coming along about that. But
But it's
like I say,
interesting
like
to
I should be feeling more anxious about it or something. There should be some fear of death coming along or something.
But you already said, Don, that came afterwards, and the body response was a yes, right?
Yeah.
So it's subtle, and then of course because of the survival pattern of going into the mind. But you can differentiate, and it's giving just more attention into the body, because it's there. It's just hasn't been part of the way you have been living and working with your we work in habitual patterns, and so it takes a while to retrain our responses, but you have clarity, and so you can find those yes moments and do little experiments with yourself of what would I like to be doing now, watching another Angelo video, maybe a yes, or maybe I don't feel like it right now, and then seeing what's in the feed and listening to somebody completely random you've never listened to, and all of a sudden they're saying something where there's a yes, wow, gosh, yes, instead of saying, oh, I think I should listen to another Angelo, I'm going to see what topic he's talking about. You know, I love Angelo, I'm not just using it as an example. But recognizing that we're not always in the mood, and there is something, maybe there's something there that's looking for something new. Whereas the voice, and plus that part that tells us what we should be doing, only knows what it knows. And it's conservative because it, as Vince was saying, it's protective.
Yeah.
And whereas there's another part that is looking for something new, and even if it's just the next video in the feed.
Yeah, it feels very subtle for me, that body yes, body no thing, but I want to see.
Yeah, it is subtle. It's very
Yeah.
subtle, but it can be recognized by that yes feeling. That it's not just an intellectual, I agree with you because I hold that view too. This.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll see how I can feel. Yeah. What am I saying? Yeah, I don't know. What am I saying? I'm saying I want to say yes, I'll do that, but that because I'm so unfamiliar with it, I don't want to commit to doing something I don't know. But I'll do the best I can with it anyway.
No, it's play. You don't have
Yeah,
to do it because you don't. It's just noticing. It's noticing when you don't feel like doing something, and then, or if you do feel like doing something, and just even if you don't do it for a few days, you think, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, or I just noticed that. It's just opening a little seed of something to.
that's cool. I'll remember. I'll write a note of that again to remind myself. I'm going to do this afternoon, and actually have to go, I guess, for the next 20 minutes or so, I suppose. I'm going to do some horse therapy, like equine assisted learning. I've done that once before. I discovered that the horse was way better at being a horse than I am at being me, but we'll see how it goes this afternoon.
Horses are great.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, I'm a bit nervous, to be very honest. I mean, that's what all I ever do is be honest, I guess. I'm kind of nervous. I was looking forward to it the last time, and I just sort of didn't really like, you know, I say it almost as a joke, but like really, I was there for whatever length of time the last time, and I was feeling quite miserable, and the horse was perfectly fucking happy to stand there being a horse for an hour, and I'm like, what did I learn from that exactly? The horse is better at being a horse, and I'm genuinely, I don't know what I learned from it. It was weird. I learned a few little things, but I'm like, was I supposed to connect with the horse? Was I supposed to feel? What was I? So anyway, I've said to my friend, she's training in this thing. I was like, you need to give me more advice this time because I don't know what really I'm supposed to do. And
so as you think about that, and you'll be leaving soon, just in that you'll be leaving soon, you'll be going and you'll be directed to the horse. Just sort of that little sketch, just quietly. What's going on in the body? Out of the mind, and not using the eyes, close the eyes even, because it's easier to feel what's going on lower down.
I mean, I'd nearly say it's like no to everything. No to everything I have planned. No to horse therapy. No to talking to you. No to everything in my whole life. I want to get away from this. This is all shit. I never do anything I like, and I want to get away. I just want to fucking go get away from everything. You know, just yeah.
So where is the no most present? Is it present in the heart area, the chest area, the throat, in the solar plexus, the diaphragm, the gut? Or is it moving around at a speed of knots everywhere?
I don't know. It's kind of just a general energy, anxiety thing, or am I?
Feel your feet in your
Mm.
on the floor. And that's a body sensation.
Mm.
And feel your butt on sitting on the chair.
Mm.
And that's another body sensation. And now feel that no in the same way. And you can say to your body, show me the no.
Just feels like it's energy that wants to get up and go somewhere else away from whatever this is that I'm doing. It doesn't know where it wants to go.
So is it everywhere? Everywhere in
My
your body that you're feeling it? Or can you just find one area that's just a little bit more present than?
Maybe my face, my heart a bit. Well, in my face, I can feel, well, yeah, there's a feeling of being watched and overlooked. I feel it from before, though. Just wanting to get away from people. Because it feels like all people do is disapprove of me all the time and trying to tell me what to do. And I just want to get away from everyone.
You feeling that here?
Yeah, but I mean, do you know what I mean? It's not that you're doing it. It's just I feel it all the time.
Yes, the no. It's the no to
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So does that do you experience a contraction in the body with that?
yeah, I think so. I want to shrink away, and I'm sort of searching for an escape route. Like rationally, I know you're not doing that, but the feeling of it is here.
Yeah, there's a
Like
part that just wants to, it's like says,
Sorry.
give me a break, stop.
Yeah, it's when I escape and go and live in the woods away from people, and like for long enough that I relax until I figure out what I want to do next, which never seems to happen.
Sorry, I have to go
Oh, you have to
upstairs.
go. Okay. Work away.
Rowena is looking after a disabled husband, so he's summoned her. That's what's happened.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, John, we've really poked the bear tonight quite hard from
thanks.
many sides. So, you know,
So much for your time.
next week I hope to see you again, and I'm going to ask you how you were traveling for the week. And I'm hoping that you're going to be able to give me some observations without opinion, without judgment, just descriptions of things that have happened to you during the week. So that's kind of me telling you to watch yourself. Just watch. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't try and think. Don't have to work at anything. You don't want to try and change anything. All you're going to do is watch, and just accept whatever life offers you.
Yeah. I'm saying yes, and I still don't even know what that even means, but
Yeah, sure. That's okay.
how I'll do something different from what I normally do, I'm not sure, but anyway, let's see what I
Yep.
Yeah.
If you don't stop working, we'll come and nail your feet to the floor.
Yeah. Okay, good. Fantastic. That's yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. You have this every whatever. You have this every
Every week this time, yeah.
week this time. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
And there's another one on Monday morning. What country are you in?
I'm in Ireland, which is the same time zone as the UK.
And yeah, okay.
All right, so, you mean the one on, because it's my Sunday night.
Yeah. That's my Monday. For you,
So it's Sunday evening.
Pretty late, yeah. It'll be.
If
There's
you
one on
put in
Sunday.
your,
I put both of them in the calendar. There's one and tomorrow at 7 p.m. I think, according to me, according to my calendar. Does that make sense to you?
yeah, that's
Jude?
the Sunday one. Well, no, it's
Yeah.
I thought you'd be late.
Vince, sorry. So Vince, do you go straight into the Sunday meeting after the training one? That's at 6
do, yeah.
tomorrow, my
Yeah.
time?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so 7, yeah, it's at 7.
So you're-
UK time. But
you're on
check
here.
just check your the time. Check with Sydney time. So Sydney time, the meeting's on Monday at 6 in the morning, right, Vince?
Yes.
Yeah, so check, and I
Oh.
think that's Sunday evening, but just check
I'll
the
tell you. I'm looking now. So on 16 Monday.
Put it in for 7 p.m. tomorrow. I don't know if I should come tomorrow or not. Maybe I.
Monday.
else have-
So 6 a.m. is in London. 7 p.m. London time
tomorrow.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your Sunday. Yep.
It's the same group of people tomorrow, is it? In case I have nothing else to do, I could.
It's a lot
pop in,
more
could I?
people.
Is it?
It's a more active, more people.
Yeah, it's been going. This one hadn't been going that long. The time zone for this one was to try and give people in Thailand and Asia and Western Australia a chance to be there, because it's otherwise it'd be 2 a.m. for them.
Oh yeah.
But the one on your Sunday at 7 p.m. is the same kind of thing as this, except there'll be more guides and other people there as well, usually.
Yeah, it's about 15 people or so.
Mm.
Might be interesting. So I could come to that.
Don't
then,
let that
could I?
put you off, though. Sorry.
I could come tomorrow as well if I'm not busy. Could I? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Could I? Yeah. Okay. That would be
So it's
cool.
your
Yeah.
Saturday now, is it?
My
Yeah, it's 7.
so it's our Sunday evening tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Usually Monday
Right,
morning.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good to see you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks very much. It's been cool talking. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great.
next time. I guess I better go and do my horse therapy.
Yeah, good one.
Oh, yeah, it's great. I love horses.
Yeah.
And
I'll see you.
Juliet really appreciates you being here. Otherwise, she would have had to talk a lot more.
Oh yeah. Favor.
Where are you, Julia?
Austria.
Oh, right. So I think it would be, if you wanted to go tomorrow, it would be at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
That'd be CET, wouldn't it? Central European time.
Yeah, I think Austria's an hour ahead of us.
It's 8 p.m. tomorrow night.
Yeah.
8. Yeah.
8. Yeah.
I try to be there.
Yeah.
Cool, there we go. So it's lovely to meet you all. Thanks for listening to me. I'll
Yeah. I've got to go too. So
Very, very
thanks,
well.
everyone. Thanks, Vince, so much.
Okay. No
Bye,
worries.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Vince, I have one question.
Yeah.
It's still there? Yeah. I'd like to pay you something for the Zoom. I don't know, somebody somewhere these meetings wrote that we can pay you
Yeah, sure.
for the, but I don't know how. Do you have PayPal?
Yeah, I have PayPal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't belong to the What is Enlightenment Facebook group?
I'm not sure. I'm
Okay.
on the LU Facebook
Yeah,
groups.
yeah, no, this is a different group, but it's, yeah, okay. I'll send you an invite by
Okay.
email, and then when you go to that group, there's a PayPal thing you can use to if you want to contribute a bit of money. Yeah, not much, don't need much.
Yeah.
You know, other people give me some as well. It's only $24 a month, so you know,
Mhm.
a little bit's good. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
I will
you.
do it. Just repeat the group. What is enlightenment?
Yes, I'll send you an
What is
invite
Okay.
by email.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.